Hello and welcome back. In this lecture, we're gonna learn about Azure Site Recovery services. That means we're gonna set it up ASR in a few minutes, and we would be migrating our Hyper-V, which is located in my on-premises server. We're gonna actually migrate that along with the complete VMs that are available on that Hyper-V server. So Hyper-V is I will have a lot of hosts. So out of that, we will actually pick up one host and we will migrate that to completely to Azure Cloud, and we can do even a quick failover or maybe a test in case of disaster happens on our physical site, which is located in California. So that's the demo that we are planning within this lecture. So that being said, to create the ASR, the first thing first, we need to actually look for site recovery services. So when we search for site recovery, that's the recovery services vault. So this is where you're going to get it, and you can actually add recovery services vault, and I'm going to actually choose my resource group as a demo in this case, and I can create here a site recovery. So this is just a kind of a vault. This is where it's gonna store all of your objects. Let's say this is the same step for even for the backup. Till this step, if you want to run the backup of Azure, or maybe for your ASR for the site recovery, this is quite similar till this point. And once you created that, it's gonna actually comes up in the Azure portal as a service for you for recovery services, and it is in the deployment is in a progress. And once the deployment is completed, we can go to the ASR, and you can see here this has actually a couple of things here. We did actually talk in the previous demo of the video directly. We did talk about a little bit of introduction about the site's recovery, where you can take the backup there, and also you can get a complete overview of the site recovery, and this is going to be your overview. And also you can start as a wizard based. If you're quite new, you can actually go and do from the getting started, and this is where it's going to actually show you if any of the VMs are replicated, and this is for the backup. And if you just go to the backup, so you can choose as the Azure for Azure Stack or on-premises machines to be taken up as a backup. All that can be configured directly from here. In our case, we are actually trying for the site recovery, but I just wanted to show you here. If at all you're quite new and you didn't go through that lecture, you can actually check out like this. So in my case, for example, if it is actually a files or maybe a VM, all that I have the different options like SQL and Exchange and also Pay Metal. All that options I have, so I can take the backup. This is where we are going to play on this demo on a site recovery. So you see here, you can take the virtual machines as the ASR can be enabled, so that your Azure to Azure can be done. And this is where for the VMware as well as for the on-premises and for Hyper-V also. So here the key things are for the three different things, and out of that we're going to actually do for Hyper-V. So there are different phases, and there are different things. Actually it takes some time to do it all this. So it's not as the a click and it's not gonna finish, because you're going to actually prepare here the complete infrastructure called site infrastructure, and then the replication object should come, all that. So and also you should also go for a planning. That's very important here. You have here a link how to plan for your network bandwidth and storage and all that, because when you're trying to take a complete ASR for your Hyper-V, you're talking about tons of data, right? It's not just the normal 10 GB or 20 GB data. We are talking about gigabytes of data, and also the supported scenarios, all that it has been mentioned within this article. So when you just click on that, actually it's going to point to this article where it talks about all this metrics for the support, and also the few things which are required as the pre-request, so that also to be done. And also if you're quite new and you have this tool which is available as a zip file, so once you open the zip file, you have the exe file. So when you click on that exe, ASR deployment.exe, it's going to actually prepare you a document which will be a questionnaires document. Or if you just open this XML or the basically it's just the Excel file. Actually, if you just open that Excel file, you just have to input a proper information. So this sheet actually talks about a complete data, like the bandwidth you need to input it, how much bandwidth you have for one site to another side, and the internet bandwidth, then the size of your virtual machines and their storage of current size, all that, so that that it's going to actually give you a good result of a complete Excel output, which is going to talk about a deployment planning. So if you have just completed that in the production, you can simply say that yes, I have done it. Otherwise, you can go through it and then do the deployment plan. Once you have done that, actually you can go to the next phase, which talks about the SVMM, that's the System Center Virtual Machine Manager. If you have, you can choose as yes, no. If you don't have, you can actually go for Hyper-V. So in our case, we have to go for Hyper-V, and that there is no Hyper-V site. We talked in the introduction of the previous lecture, we talked about Hyper-V site. So if you have not gone through it, this is just for you. So Hyper-V site name is nothing but a location that you can easily identify, right? So in the let's say example, it's a California, where you have a Hyper-V service, and within that there are a lot of virtual machines, and you wanted to migrate them to your Azure Cloud for site recovery purpose. So what you do is, as a first step, you actually create a site name. So later point, you actually pull your Hyper-V service here, that's called the Hyper-V hosts, or the actual Hyper-V service, and then post to that, you will be actually selecting what are the VMs that you wanted to plan for ASR. So that's how you can actually plan it. So in our case, we are actually going to create as a first thing, as a first Hyper-V site. So I just entered US California Hyper-V server, or maybe a service, but just a server. So I just gave and post to that. This actually takes, or in the backend, it is actually preparing an infrastructure. Let's say you can cancel this and you can come back here also later point. Post to that, actually you need to add the Hyper-V server. So that takes some time. This is where actually you need to follow a quite bit of lengthy process to be done. The first thing is we did even the creation of the site, and the second thing we are talking about the Hyper-V server. So what exactly this is, this is the server which is going to be part of your site. So let's say in my on-premises I have a Hyper-V server, so that's what the server which I'm going to add here. So that's going to be my server. To add that, I need to have some kind of agent, so that's what it's going to talk. So to add that agent and to work properly, you need to follow step 1 to step 5 properly. So what exactly step 1 is talking about is it must be meet the pre-requirements such as the Windows Server 2012 R2 or above of Hyper-V. Yes, I have 2019, that's fine for me. And also the proxy servers that's used for your firewall to be allowed basically for the replication purpose. If at all you have the proxy, you can also configure that. And next thing is actually there is an agent that to be installed on my Hyper-V server. So this is close to 40 to 50 MB that needs to be installed on my Hyper-V server, which I'm going to do it later point. Once you install, actually to make the relationship between that Hyper-V server, which is located in my California physical server, with my site. So my site is in this case Hyper-V site called US California Hyper-V server. So to make this relationship, actually step 4 will be used, because it actually register with a vault key, which would be a lengthy number that needs to be located, that needs to be shown for my server when I'm trying to download at this step 5. So or just to give you a high level, I need to download some software that's nothing but the agent kind of software, and post to the installation I need to show this text file kind of thing which has a registration key information, so that it actually go and connect to my Hyper-V site. And that's the step 5 actually. So as these all the steps I'm going to follow. So I'll just download. Instead of I download here, what I will do is I'll actually open my Hyper-V server and I'll just download there directly. So let me go to my Hyper-V server. This is my Hyper-V server, and you can see here this is a virtual Hyper-V server, which is just the demo purpose. I just created this Hyper-V server physical server, and you see here I have just the one virtual machine. So my plan is I just wanted to take this one VM to Azure Cloud. That's the plan. So as a first step, I've already gone through all those steps. I'll just copy that and I'm going to paste here that link so that it's going to actually download on this my Hyper-V server. And this is a kind of agent kind of thing which is works for my ASR Site Recovery provider. So I'll just click on that. It's just exe, which is 47 MB as we talked. And once the installation is completed, actually it's gonna ask me, it's a straightforward installation. It's going to ask me that site recovery key information. So straightforward. I'm actually installing this on my Hyper-V server so that it actually sends the information by registering to my California site saying that, hey, you have these many virtual machines. You choose what to be replicated. That's the next step. So here we are gonna install the software and then we're going to register. So it might take a minute or so here for the installation, and once it is installed, yeah, it just got installed, and you see here you got the register option. So that's where I have to register. So it's going to ask me a key that needs to be provided. So in my case, I have actually not yet downloaded. That's a step 3 is completed, and step 4 is I need to download that key. So I'll just download on my physical machine. That's my work machine. From there to I'll just copy to my Hyper-V server. So I'll just show on my folder and copy that to my Hyper-V server, and I'll simply browse the key file here by browsing and showing from a desktop, and that should be the key which would actually register. So if you see here my subscription, my key file, and site recovery vault name, and my Hyper-V site name, that's a key actually, right? This Hyper-V host is going to be part of that site, and it's also asking me to connect directly without any proxy because I don't have any proxy. I directly get internet. So I have chosen, if at all you have a proxy, you can choose that. That's it. It's gonna take a minute to certificate to register. I'll close this machine because it's gonna do all that. So I'll click maybe a finish later point of time, but you see I followed step 1 to step 5. So I've done almost everything. I didn't go through the targets here, setting the targets, all that, or replication policy, not yet done. And that takes actually some time, so you don't get it immediately here. It should actually show you here the server name, all that. So what I'll do is actually I'll just close this and I redo the complete steps. So that's how it's going to work. I'm sorry for that, but that's how it's designed, because it's not quickly you get it everything because it's over the internet. So I'll just go to my site recovery services, and I'll simply again go to site recovery. I follow that wizard for my Hyper-V, preparing the infrastructure and enabling the replication. So the first step, I have done all the planning. Earlier we have done this, and then I'll choose my site as not SVMM. It's Hyper-V, and you see here now I'm able to see my Hyper-V. So earlier I don't have this. That's another tab. So if I just refresh, maybe I would actually get this time as my Hyper-V host name. So again, it's also asking for the step or the completely wizard to be redo. So I don't want to do it. And this is the key here. You see here, it says that, hey, you don't have a storage account. I wanted did this. I don't have a storage account. Yes, that's very important because the entire site related replication, all that information could actually store in my storage account. So for that, what I have to do is I have to create a storage account. So let's jump into Azure portal and do the storage account creation. And if you see here, post failover deployment model is ARM. That's a resource model. Nobody is using the classic, so don't use the classic here. Use a resource manager. So I'm going to actually open in a new tab, and I'll create here storage account. And if you see here, I simply create here my storage account by clicking on add and create a storage account, and I'll choose my resource group including my subscription, and also I'll give here storage account name something. It should be a smaller letters all the time, so I'll just give ASR demo Paddy and the premium. If you choose a premium, you don't get the geo and other replications, so I should actually go for standard. So I'll just choose the standard so that I get the GRS and all that if I really want it. So in my case, I'm going to actually choose the LRS only, so I'll just go with the basic. I don't want to go for costly things, so LRS, and then I'm going to choose as the hot and cold, all that. So I'm just going to choose as hot, and I'll just enter the resource group there. I'll click on networking. I'm not going to associate any kind of networks here, so, and also data protection, all that. I'm not going to use anything. It's a basic storage account which I just wanted to have it for my storage account for my ASR, so that the data gets stored here. So let's quickly finish this storage account creation, and then what we do is we go back there. It's just completed storage account creation. I'll simply go to that window and I'll just quickly refresh. It's again ask for run the complete visit, so that's okay. As I said earlier in the beginning of this demo, it's going to be complex actually. If you know things, it's easy. If not, it takes some time to come back to the same visit. Let's see for the HyperV server. Now it found even the storage account also. That's good. And also a VNet, because why VNet is very important here is the VNet is very critical, because when you fail over, it's going to fail over to that VM, to that VNet, that specific networking, so that users can connect. And there's no replication policy here. We're going to create a replication policy, how it's going to replicate. So I'll just give as a demo ASR policy or something like that, and a copy of the frequency from my source as a Hyper-V and the target to my Azure. So every 5 minutes it's gonna copy. That means you need to have a very good bandwidth, and also the recovery points, and also app consistency. App consistency is something very important, like application compatibility. When you restore also, it would actually follow that. And once you have done that creation of the replication policy, you can finish. So what we have done is we actually prepared the infrastructure. We have not selected any of the VM. You see, what we have done is, if you remember, we have actually created a site called the HyperV site. That's the, and also then the HyperV server one is connected, but not the VMs. We didn't create any of the VMs, so that preparation would take some time. You see, if I just go back, I got a HyperV site, this, and also has one of the name of my HyperV machine name, that's HyperV V01, but there's no VMs. So as a next step, I have to actually create my replication, so that this replication would go and bring my on-premises, or maybe my VMware, or maybe from my Azure virtual machines, that I need to simply select it, so that it's actually the it uses that agent, all that, to replicate. So earlier what we have done is we have just created the infrastructure like the site name, host name, and the replication policy information, but we didn't choose in what to be replicated. This is where we're going to choose the replicate what kind of items to be replicated. So in our case here, Hyper-V to Hyper-V machine to Azure, that's what we're going to choose. We're not going to choose anything called VMM specific, so we just choose Hyper-V, and then I know that I'm going to choose my source as that, and it's going to be a resource manager and storage account, LRS. And you should be choose here. This is very critical, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to replicate. When you replicate, when you start that machine for some reason to failover, test the failover, or something disaster happen, how do you start up? So to start that, you need to have a VNet, and their subnet, their IP address configuration should be available. So that's very important. So I did already create my VNet, and I'm actually choosing here that VNet. If I choose as a configure later, what would happen is, if you try to fail over, then it's going to fail. It says that, hey, you need to have the VNet, and during that failover test, actually you are going to create the VNet later point. So anyway, VNet doesn't cost you anything, so it's better to configure with a proper design here. So that's the right time, right way. So we are just choosing the existing VNet which we have already created before I do this demo. And the next thing is, it's gonna ask me, hey, what VM you are gonna choose from my HyperV server, that is my on-premises Hyper-V. So I'm gonna choose USCA-SRV01, and then I have to select that. So that's only one virtual machine. If at all you have here more virtual machines on your on-premises, you can actually, so in my case I just have the one. And you see here, this is where the replication is going to happen. If you have multiple disks, let's say, or the virtual machine type, all that you should be choosing, so that it's going to make the arrangements for you in order to choose the compatible virtual machine with that specific hardware configuration. Let's say my virtual machine has a 8 GB RAM, so it will just choose whatever matching DS, V2, or whatever the VM model that can be suitable. And this is the replication policy which we created as part of the infrastructure preparation plan. I'm going to use that. So this would take some time. Post to that, honestly, the replication would take, the initial replication might take in real world might be a day or two, based on the synchronization speed and the internet connectivity from your on-premises to Azure Cloud. So it takes a lot of time. Once a replication is completed, you can actually go for recovery plan. This is the actual class, or this is the actual demo which we want to do it. So what exactly a recovery plan is, a site recovery plan is something you have already backed up from your on-premises network, a VM, and you want to fail over to Azure Cloud. Let's say there's a natural disaster happen on your on-premises some location, let's say California, unfortunately, and then you want to recover, fail over to Azure Cloud so that your business doesn't impact. So in that situation, you're actually choosing the recovery plan. So this is very key. So earlier, whatever we have done, all that are just the infrastructure planning and the replication and selecting what item to be replicated. But here, we're actually creating a plan. How do you fail over? And when do you fail over, all that, and the plan for that. So let's start by giving a name. So you shouldn't have spaces, so I'll just remove the spaces, and then I'll just choose my source is the site which I have here, US California Hyper-V Server, and also my target as Microsoft Azure as the cloud, right? And I'm going to choose the item which I wanted to use for my deployment. So that's an item. So here I have just the cloud, that says your cloud, and the site, and you see here that's a Hyper-V site which is going to use, and I'm going to use the ARM as I said earlier. And if I just choose here, when I see a replication item here, the selected item is one, which is my Hyper-V contains one virtual machine. So I just selected that one VM. So what would happen is I'm going to actually create a recovery plan. So post to the creation, I can actually see here a recovery plan, and if I just go to that plan, I should be able to do the customization, complex customizations, and also I can do the failover here, and also I can do the planned failover. It's really a planned, and it's a test failover, and you can failover directly. All that can be actually configured, and it can be tested even. So this is where it's going to talk about the recovery plan, and we're going to do the customization. So the customization is key here, and if I just go to the customization, actually I can group it, a few of the things. Let's say you have a SQL Server and web server, and maybe another front-end servers. So let's say you want to group them. So what you can do is you can actually see here the group one has maybe a web server as a first, and you can actually choose here as the group 2 maybe SQL as a backend, let's see, and later point you can create one more group as the sequence for the front end. So what would happen is first it's going to restore maybe this server, and then the SQL, and then the front end IaaS servers or web servers, and this is going to be a sequence. So that sequence you can actually create in that sequence. So it just actually adds you a great idea of what to be done. Actually, you can move your VMs to another group, and also you can do even post actions. A kind of script can be automatically done, or you can do the manual steps. Also you can steps, so you have maybe a DR plan which that needs to be executed all these steps. You can use that manual action which will pop up for you. And if at all you're running these scripts, if you have the already automation account, in my case I didn't actually create an automation account, but if at all I have, actually it's going to actually ask me to browse the script. So the script might be doing something else. It might be working against my Azure, or maybe something with some of the VMs. All that can be done because automation script will have your runbook, so it's going to execute that runbook, so which is a manual. You have the option for manual steps to be performed, or that steps can be even automated with the automation account. So you have a lot of flexibility, and that's how it's going to work. So let's jump back to the grouping, and we talked about the grouping. So I don't want to do anything related to the grouping. Simply you can go for failover. In my case, the complete replication is not done. Still waiting for my replication, so I can't do the failover, all that. Otherwise actually I can get it here. All these gets green thing, and I can do all that if I want commit or maybe clean up, resynchronize. All that can be done from here. Okay, the replication has been already completed. Let's go to our replicated items and have a look on our VM that has been replicated. And if you see here, the current status is already synchronized and it's showing as a protected. And if I wanted to fail over, well, I can easily do that. It's a planned failover. I can do simply no failover done in the past 180 days. So it's recommended to do a test failover before doing any kind of test. That's best practices. So you can simply click on OK. So it's going to actually start failover. So in a minute or so, it's going to actually create a VM in my Azure network with that specific VNet, which is we just used it. So that's how you're going to actually fail over, and this takes actually some time. So you need to actually do a test failover. Later point you can actually go for the planned failover, and you can also do the failover options, all that. So even the errors, all that, it will be actually showing here. So this is how we are going to do it. It just got successfully planned failover got completed. So let's go back to the Azure virtual machines and see do we have any of the virtual machines. So I'll just go to virtual machines, and I have here the virtual machine already got created, and it's actually in a started state. The thing is like it does not have any public IP. It will not have your NSGs, all that, because you need to plan them also properly with some kind of scripts to automate this, or maybe post to the failover. If it is a planned failover, you need to work on that. Let's say I wanted to show you that also. If I just go back to my networking, I should be able to see here there's no public IP, it's just the private IP, and that means I cannot connect directly over the public network. But you see the real scenario, what would happen is you will have either express route configuration or some kind of site-to-site VPN tunnel from your Azure to your on-premises, so your clients can reach easily with this IP address, so there will not be any problem. But the only thing is, if you're looking for some kind of NSGs to be configured, it might not be. So you need to work on that if really you need to have that specific configuration. Otherwise, you can actually connect to these machines and easily. Also, since it's a planned ASR, the actual virtual machine got automatically turned off and it has failed back to Azure Cloud. So that's another advantage that you have with the Microsoft Azure, since it's you just chosen as the planned. If you chosen as a failover, it just fail over to that network. So I hope this ASR is a little bit of lengthy and complicated, little bit, but if you know what you're trying to do with what replication items, all that, it's so easy for you to work on this. I hope this entire lecture is useful for you. Please do check out some kind of documentation related to the ASR that makes easy for you. Thank you.